The champagne glasses exploded against marble like gunshots. Emma Hartwell froze, surrounded by glittering shards and 500 pairs of judgmental eyes. The crystal fragments reflected the chandelier light, throwing fractured rainbows across her trembling hands. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, kneeling. Her fingers reached for the broken pieces, but all she could see was him. Sebastian Monroe stood 15 feet away, his emerald eyes locked on hers with an intensity that burned through 15 years of silence. The practiced smile had vanished from his face. His chest rose and fell rapidly beneath the tailored tuxedo. "Don't move," he commanded, his voice cutting through the crowd's murmurs. He crossed the distance between them in 4 long strides, his expensive shoes crunching over crystal. Emma's breath caught. Up close, she could see the fine lines around his eyes, the slight silver threading his dark hair. But those eyes. God, those eyes still held the same green fire that had consumed her teenage heart. "Sebastian, darling, let security handle this," a cold voice drifted from behind him. Victoria Ashford Monroe appeared, her diamond necklace catching light like ice. Her perfectly painted lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "I said don't move." Sebastian crouched beside Emma, so close she could smell his cologne, sandalwood, and memories. His hand hovered near hers, not quite touching. "You'll cut yourself. You know this woman?" Victoria's voice sharpened. The question hung in the air like a blade. Sebastian's jaw clenched. His eyes never left Emma's face. "No," he said quietly. "I don't know her." The lie hit Emma harder than any slap. She stood abruptly, backing away from him, from the broken glass, from the wreckage of what they'd once been. "Of course not, Mr. Monroe," Emma managed, her voice steady despite the earthquake inside her chest. "I'm nobody, just the help." She turned and walked toward the service entrance, her spine straight, her hands balled into fists. Behind her she heard Victoria's satisfied laugh, heard the orchestra resume playing, heard the party swallow the moment whole. But she also heard something else. Footsteps, following her. Emma pushed through the service door into the empty corridor. The sounds of the gala faded behind heavy wood and stone. She pressed her back against the wall, trying to breathe, trying not to cry. The door opened. Sebastian stood in the frame, backlit by chandeliers, his face in shadow. Emma. Her name on his lips after 15 years. "Emma, wait. You don't know me, remember?" She forced herself to meet his gaze. "Those were your words. There are 300 people in that room." He stepped closer, the door swinging shut behind him, plunging them into dim corridor light. "My wife is one of them. My father-in-law is another. You couldn't just tell the truth." Emma's voice cracked. "Some things never change. That's not fair." "Fair?" She laughed, the sound bitter. "You want to talk about fair? You disappeared. No call, no letter, nothing. For 15 years, Sebastian. 15 years, I thought. You thought what?" He closed the distance between them, his presence overwhelming in the narrow space. "That I chose this? That I wanted any of this? I don't know what you chose. You never gave me the chance to find out." They stood inches apart, breathing hard, the air between them electric with unspoken words and impossible history. Sebastian's hand lifted, hovering near her face, and for one suspended moment, Emma thought he might touch her. Then his phone buzzed, once, twice, 3 times. The spell broke. Sebastian stepped back, pulling out his phone. His face went pale as he read the screen. "I have to go, my father. He's had a stroke." "Sebastian. I'm sorry." He looked at her one last time, his eyes full of something that looked like grief. "I'm so damn sorry, Emma. For everything." He turned and walked away, disappearing through a side exit, leaving Emma alone in the corridor with the ghost of his cologne and the weight of 15 years between them. She didn't know then that his father's stroke would change everything, that in 3 days, she'd receive a phone call that would shatter her world worse than any dropped champagne glass, that the man she'd loved and lost was about to become the man who could destroy her completely. Emma pressed her palm against the cold wall and finally let herself cry. 3 days later, Emma's phone rang at 2:47 a.m., unknown number. Her hand trembled as she answered. "Miss Hartwell?" A woman's voice, professional, cold. "This is Catherine Monroe, Sebastian's mother." Emma sat up in her cramped studio apartment, heart hammering. Mrs. Monroe, be quiet and listen. You will meet me tomorrow at 10 a.m., Rosewood Cafe on 5th Avenue. Come alone. Tell no one. The line went dead. Emma stared at her phone, her mind racing. Catherine Monroe, the woman who had orchestrated Sebastian's disappearance all those years ago, the woman who had threatened Emma's mother's job, her scholarship, everything, unless Emma vanished from Sebastian's life. The cafe was marble and gold, the kind of place where Emma's entire month's rent couldn't buy a meal. Catherine sat in the corner booth, her gray hair swept into an elegant chignon, her eyes cold as winter. Sit. Emma slid into the seat, her jaw tight. What do you want? Still direct. I remember that about you. Catherine pushed a manila envelope across the table. Open it. Inside were photographs. Emma and Sebastian from 15 years ago. Stolen moments behind the library, in the park, his arm around her shoulders, her young face glowing with first love, and beneath those, newer photos, Emma serving at the gala, Sebastian watching her, both of them in the corridor, inches apart. Beautiful, aren't they? Catherine's smile was razor sharp. The media would have a field day. Billionaire's secret past with his maid. Victoria's family would pull their merger. The Ashford empire would collapse the Monroe group in retaliation. Everything my husband built, destroyed. Your husband is dying. Emma's voice shook. Does that mean nothing to you? It means everything. Which is why you're going to stay away from my son. I'm not trying to. $50,000. Catherine pulled out a check, sliding it across the table. More than you'd make in 2 years. Take it. Disappear. Again. Emma stared at the check, rage building in her chest. You can't buy me. Everyone has a price, Miss Hartwell. I don't. Catherine's eyes narrowed. Then perhaps I should mention your mother. Still working at Mercy General Hospital, isn't she? Such a demanding job for a woman her age. I'd hate for her to suddenly lose her position. Her pension. Her health care. The blood drained from Emma's face. You wouldn't. I protected my family once. I'll do it again. Catherine stood, smoothing her designer suit. You have 24 hours to decide. Take the money and leave, or watch everything you love burn. She walked away, leaving Emma alone with the photographs and the check and the impossible choice. Emma's hands were still shaking when she returned to her apartment. She paced the small space, trying to think, trying to breathe. She couldn't let her mother pay for her past. But she couldn't just disappear again without explanation. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Emma, it's Sebastian. I got your number from the event company. Please. I need to see you. Library on Maple Street. 8 p.m. Please come. She stared at the message, her heart breaking all over again. The same library where they'd first kissed, where he'd promised her forever, where she'd believed him. Emma arrived at the library as darkness fell, the old brick building empty and quiet. Sebastian waited on the front steps, his tie loosened, his hair disheveled. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. You came, he breathed, standing as she approached. I shouldn't have. My father died this morning. His voice cracked. They pulled the plug at 6 a.m. My mother called all the heirs to his office afterward. Emma, you need to know something. You need to know why I left. Sebastian, he threatened to destroy you. The words tumbled out, raw and desperate. 15 years ago, my father found out about us. He said if I didn't end things, if I didn't go to boarding school and stop all contact, he'd make sure you and your mother lost everything. He'd blacklist her from every hospital in the state. He'd revoke your scholarship. He'd ruin your entire family. Emma's legs went weak. She grabbed the railing. What? I was 17. I was a coward. I thought I was protecting you. Sebastian's eyes glistened. I thought if I just did what he wanted, if I married Victoria and played the perfect heir, eventually he'd die and I'd be free and I could find you again. I could explain. I could make it right. 15 years, Sebastian. Tears streamed down her face. 15 years of silence. I know. God, I know. He reached for her hands, and this time, she let him take them. His touch burned. But he's gone now. The monster is gone. Emma, Your mother came to see me this morning. Sebastian went still. What? She offered me $50,000 to disappear. She threatened my mother's job, her health care, everything. Emma pulled her hands free, stepping back. She said if I don't leave, she'll destroy us. Just like your father would have. No. Sebastian's face drained of color. No, I won't let her. You can't stop her. You couldn't stop him. And you can't stop her. I'm not 17 anymore, Emma. I have power now. I can protect you. Can you? Emma's voice rose. Can you protect me from Victoria? From her family? From every single person in your world who sees me as nothing but hired help? Can you protect me from yourself? The question hung between them like a chasm. Sebastian stepped forward, his hands cupping her face, his forehead pressing against hers. His breath mingled with hers, warm and desperate. I never stopped loving you, he whispered. Not for one single day. You were the only real thing in my entire life, Emma. The only true thing, and I let them take you from me. Sebastian, we can't. His lips found hers. The kiss was fire and fury, 15 years of longing and regret crashing together. Emma's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer even as her mind screamed at her to run. He tasted like whiskey and memories, his hands tangling in her hair, his body pressing her against the library wall. When they finally broke apart, both gasping, Emma saw something in his eyes that terrified her. Not just love, not just want, but possession. Come home with me, Sebastian breathed against her mouth. Right now, leave everything behind. I'll give you anything you want. Everything. I need to think, Emma managed, pushing against his chest. I need time. We've lost 15 years. How much more time do we need? Sebastian, please. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it from her pocket with shaking hands. A text from an unknown number, a photo attachment. She opened it and felt the world tilt. It was a picture of them, right now, kissing against the library wall. Taken from across the street. Below the photo, a message. Interesting reunion. Victoria might want to see this, unless Miss Hartwell makes the right choice. Catherine Monroe was watching, had been watching all along. Emma showed Sebastian the phone. His face went white, then red with rage. She's bluffing, he said, but his voice wavered. Is she? Emma backed away from him, from the library, from the impossible dream. Your father threatened my family. Your mother is doing it again. Your wife would destroy us both. Sebastian, there's no happy ending here. Emma, wait. I'm taking the money. The words came out before she could stop them. I'm taking it and leaving, tonight. You don't mean that. I have to protect my mother, just like you tried to protect me 15 years ago. She forced herself to look at him, to memorize his face one last time. Goodbye, Sebastian. She turned and ran, his voice calling her name echoing down the empty street. Emma didn't see Victoria Ashford Monroe step out of the shadows across from the library, her phone in her hand, a cruel smile on her perfect face. Didn't know that the message hadn't come from Catherine. Didn't know that the real betrayal was only just beginning. Emma never made it home that night. A black car pulled up beside her as she walked, the rear window sliding down to reveal Victoria's porcelain face, cold and beautiful in the streetlight. Get in, Miss Hartwell. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Then just listen. Victoria's smile was all teeth. Unless you'd prefer I send that photo to every tabloid in the city right now. Emma's blood ran cold. She got in the car. The interior smelled like leather and expensive perfume. Victoria sat like a queen on her throne, studying Emma with predatory interest. My mother-in-law is old-fashioned, Victoria said, as the car pulled away from the curb. She thinks money solves everything. But I know better. Money can't buy what you really want, can it, Emma? What do you want from me? The same thing you want. Sebastian. Emma's head snapped toward her. What? Oh, don't look so shocked. Did you think I married him for love? Victoria laughed, the sound like breaking glass. I married him because our families needed the merger. Because his father and mine arranged it when we were children. Because it was expected, but I never wanted him. Not really. Then why? Because I don't lose. Victoria's eyes hardened. And I won't be humiliated. But here's the thing, Emma. I also won't be trapped in a loveless marriage for the rest of my life. So I have a proposal. The car turned down an empty street, the city lights fading behind them. I want a divorce, Victoria continued. But if I file first, if I'm the one who breaks our prenuptial agreement, I lose everything. My trust fund, My inheritance. My father will disown me for destroying the merger. But if Sebastian files, if he's the one who breaks his vows, I keep everything. I become the victim, the wronged wife. Public sympathy. Financial security. Freedom. Emma's stomach twisted. You want me to help you destroy your own marriage. I want you to be the affair that sets us both free. Victoria pulled out her phone, showing Emma a series of photos. Emma and Sebastian at the library. Emma at the gala. Emma's apartment building. I've been documenting everything since the night you dropped those glasses. I saw the way he looked at you, like you were oxygen and he'd been drowning. I'm not going to hear me out. Victoria leaned forward. You seduce him. Publicly. Undeniably. I catch you together, file for divorce, citing adultery, and walk away with $50 million and my reputation intact. Sebastian gets you. You get Sebastian. Everyone wins, except Sebastian's reputation, his company, everything he's built. Please. Men recover from scandals in 6 months. Women never do. This is his best option. And yours. Victoria's smile turned sharp. Because if you refuse, I'll destroy you anyway. I'll release those photos. I'll tell everyone you're a stalker who seduced my husband at his father's funeral. I'll make sure you and your mother are ruined so completely. You'll wish Catherine's offer was still on the table. Emma's hands clenched into fists. You're insane. I'm practical. You have 48 hours to decide. Seduce my husband and set us all free. Or watch everything burn. Victoria knocked on the partition. The car stopped. They were back at Emma's apartment building. Choose wisely, Miss Hartwell. Victoria's window slid up, dismissing her. Emma stumbled out of the car, her mind reeling. The black vehicle disappeared into the night, leaving her alone on the empty street. She needed to tell Sebastian. Needed to warn him. But as she reached for her phone, she remembered the photos. Victoria was always watching. Always documenting. If Emma went to Sebastian now, Victoria would know. Would spin it as proof of their affair. She was trapped. Checkmate. The next morning, Emma's phone rang. Catherine Monroe. I've reconsidered my offer. Catherine's voice was tight. $100,000. Final offer. Take it and disappear by tonight. I can't. Victoria came to see me this morning. She told me everything about your little library rendezvous, about her plan to destroy my son using you as the weapon. Catherine's voice shook with fury. That girl is more ambitious than I gave her credit for. But I won't let her humiliate my family. Take the money, Emma. It's the only way to protect him. From what? From being happy? From himself. Catherine's voice softened, just barely. You were there 15 years ago. You saw what happened when he chose love over duty. My husband destroyed him, broke him so completely it took years to put him back together. If he chooses you now, publicly, scandalously, it won't just be Victoria who comes after him. It'll be her father, her family, every business rival who's been waiting for weakness. They'll tear the Monroe group apart. Everything my husband died protecting. Emma closed her eyes. So either I destroy him by being with him, or I destroy myself by leaving him. Yes. Catherine's voice held something that might have been sympathy. That's exactly what I'm saying. And I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry. But some love stories don't get happy endings. The line went dead. Emma sat in her apartment, surrounded by impossible choices. Take the money and run, leaving Sebastian to Victoria's schemes. Stay and seduce him publicly, playing into Victoria's hands. Or tell him everything and watch his world collapse anyway. Her phone buzzed. Sebastian. Emma, please answer. My mother told me she came to see you. Whatever she said, whatever she offered, don't listen. I'm coming over. We'll figure this out together. I love you. I've always loved you. That has to count for something. Before she could respond, another text arrived. Victoria. TikTok. Emma. 40 hours left. Make your choice. And then a third message. Unknown number. Miss Hartwell, this is James Ashford, Victoria's father. My daughter thinks she's very clever, but I've been playing this game longer than she's been alive. You should know that Victoria is not offering you freedom. She's offering you a leash. Once you're branded as the other woman, once you've publicly destroyed the Monroe marriage, I will ensure you never work again, never find peace, never escape. You'll be the cautionary tale mothers tell their daughters. Think carefully about whose game you're playing. Emma's phone clattered to the floor. 3 different people. 3 different threats. 3 different versions of her destruction. She looked at the manila envelope on her table. Catherine's check for $100,000, enough to disappear, to start over somewhere far from billionaire families and their twisted games. Her hands reached for it, then stopped. Because running away 15 years ago had solved nothing, had protected nothing, had only prolonged the suffering. Emma grabbed her phone and typed a message. Not to Catherine, not to Victoria, not even to Sebastian, to all 3 of them, tomorrow night. Monroe Estate, 8 p.m. Everyone comes. Everyone hears the truth. No more games. No more lies. We end this. She hit send before she could change her mind. Within seconds, her phone exploded with responses. Threats, demands, promises of ruin. But Emma was done being afraid. Done being the pawn in their chess game. Tomorrow night, she'd flip the board, even if it meant sacrificing herself in the process. Her phone rang one more time. Sebastian. Emma, what are you doing? What truth? Please just talk to me. Tomorrow, she whispered. Everything tomorrow. She hung up and turned off her phone. Outside her window, the city glittered with lights, indifferent to the storm about to break. Emma pressed her forehead against the cold glass and allowed herself one moment of weakness. One moment to imagine a world where she and Sebastian could have been normal, could have been happy, could have been free. Then she straightened her spine, dried her eyes, and began to plan. Because if she was going down, she was taking all of them with her. The Monroe Estate ballroom looked different without 500 guests. Empty. Echoing. Honest. Emma arrived first, wearing the same black uniform from the gala. A deliberate choice. A reminder of who she really was in their world. Sebastian stood by the windows, his back to her, shoulders tense. He turned when he heard her footsteps, and the look on his face nearly broke her resolve. Emma, please, whatever you're planning. Don't. She held up her hand. Just wait. They'll be here soon. Who will? Everyone who's been playing games with our lives. The doors opened. Victoria swept in, elegant in a blood-red dress, her eyes sharp. Behind her, Catherine Monroe moved like winter itself, her face carved from ice. And last, James Ashford, Victoria's father, silver-haired and powerful, a man used to owning everything he touched. Well, Victoria said, surveying the room, the gang's all here. How delightfully dramatic. What is this? Catherine demanded, looking at Emma with contempt. I don't take orders from the help? Emma finished. No, you give them. You threaten. You buy. You manipulate. All of you. She turned in a slow circle, meeting each of their eyes. You've all been playing your games, moving us around like pieces on a board. So I decided it was time to flip the board. Miss Hartwell. James Ashford's voice was steel wrapped in silk. You're out of your depth. Maybe, but I'm also done drowning. Emma pulled out her phone, holding it up. I recorded everything. Victoria's proposition. Catherine's threats. Your text warning, Mr. Ashford. Every word, every threat, every manipulation. The room went silent. You're bluffing, Victoria said, but her voice wavered. Am I? Emma pressed play. Victoria's voice filled the ballroom. I want you to seduce him, publicly, undeniably. I catch you together, file for divorce citing adultery, and walk away with $50 million. You recorded me? Victoria's face flushed with rage. That's illegal. So is blackmail, Emma countered. So is threatening someone's livelihood. So is conspiracy to commit fraud. Catherine stepped forward. What do you want? Money? More than I offered? I want the truth. Emma turned to Sebastian, whose face had gone white as he listened to the recording. All of it. No more protecting me. No more sacrificing yourself. No more lies. Tell me why you really married her, Sebastian. Tell me what really happened 15 years ago. Tell me everything. Sebastian's jaw clenched. He looked at his mother, then at Victoria, then at James Ashford. Finally, his eyes settled on Emma, and something in them cracked open. "My father didn't just threaten your family," he said quietly. "He had your mother fired. Did you know that? The week after I left for boarding school, she lost her job at Mercy General. No explanation, no severance, just gone." Emma staggered. "What?" "I didn't find out until years later. By then, she'd already found work at another hospital. I thought I convinced myself that she'd moved on her own, that the damage wasn't permanent." Sebastian's voice broke. "But I was wrong. I was always wrong." "You knew," Emma whispered. "All this time you knew your father destroyed her career, and you never told me?" "I couldn't, because there was more." Sebastian turned to his mother. Tell her what else father did." Catherine's face remained impassive. "This is not the time." "Tell her!" Sebastian's roar echoed through the empty ballroom. "She deserves to know what she's been running from all these years." Catherine's mask finally cracked. "Your father had you investigated," she said to Emma. "We found out you were pregnant." The floor dropped out from under Emma's world. Sebastian went absolutely still. "What?" Emma's voice was barely a whisper. "You were 6 weeks pregnant when my husband forced Sebastian to leave. We had a private investigator following you. We knew." Catherine's eyes held no remorse. "We also knew you lost the baby 3 weeks later. Miscarriage. The hospital records confirmed it." Emma couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The room spun. "I was pregnant?" She turned to Sebastian, searching his face. "Did you know? Did you know I was carrying your child?" "No." Sebastian's face was devastated. "God, Emma, no, I swear I didn't know. Mother, how could you?" "I protected you," Catherine said coldly. "Just like I always have. That girl was going to trap you with a baby, ruin your future. She was 17. Sebastian's voice cracked. "We were kids. And you let me believe, you let me think I'd just abandoned her. But I abandoned her and our baby. Our baby, Mother." He turned away, his shoulders shaking. Emma felt like she was watching the scene from underwater. Distant. Drowning. "I don't remember," she whispered. "I had bleeding. Bad cramps. The doctor said it was stress. I didn't know. I didn't know there was a baby. I didn't know I lost." Her legs gave out. Sebastian caught her, pulling her against his chest, his arms wrapping around her like a fortress too late to save anything. She could feel him trembling, could feel his tears falling into her hair. "I'm so sorry," he breathed. "Emma, I'm so sorry. For all of it. For every choice, every moment, every lie." Victoria watched them with something that might have been sadness. "Well," she said quietly, "I suppose my scheme seems rather trivial now." "Your scheme?" James Ashford turned to his daughter. "What scheme?" Victoria's chin lifted. "I asked Emma to seduce Sebastian so I could divorce him without losing my inheritance. There. Now you know. I don't love him. I never loved him. And I'm tired of pretending." "You foolish girl," James hissed. "Do you have any idea what you've done? The Monroe Group merger?" "I don't care about your merger." Victoria's composure finally shattered. "I don't care about any of it. I'm 28 years old, and I've never made a single choice for myself. Not one. You arranged my marriage, my career, my entire life, just like Catherine did to Sebastian, just like they all did to Emma. We're all prisoners here." The ballroom fell silent, truth hanging in the air like smoke after gunfire. Emma pulled away from Sebastian, wiping her eyes. Her voice, when she spoke, was steady. Cold. Final. "I'm keeping the recordings," she said. All of them. And if any of you come after me or my mother again, if you threaten us or try to manipulate us or play your games, I'll release everything. To the press, to the authorities, to anyone who'll listen. You'll destroy all of us, Catherine said, including Sebastian. No. Emma looked at Sebastian, memorizing his face one last time. I'll destroy your empire, your reputation, your power. But Sebastian? She stepped closer to him, reaching up to touch his face gently. Sebastian was destroyed 15 years ago. We both were. And we've been living as ghosts ever since. Emma, don't... Sebastian caught her hand, pressing it against his cheek. Don't leave. Not again. Please. We can fix this. Together. We can... There's nothing to fix. Emma pulled her hand free, even as it broke her heart. Your mother killed our baby. Your wife wanted to use me as a weapon. Your father-in-law threatened my future. And you. She looked at him with infinite sadness. You knew what your family was capable of, and you still stayed. You still chose them. You still married her. I chose to survive. Sebastian's voice rose. I chose to not lose everything. I chose. You chose wrong. Emma's voice was soft, final. We both did. Over and over. And now we're here. And there's no going back. No fixing it. No happy ending. She reached into her pocket and pulled out Catherine's check. $100,000. She held it up, then slowly tore it in half. Then in quarters. Let the pieces flutter to the marble floor like wounded butterflies. I don't want your money. I don't want your games. I don't want any of it. Emma turned to leave, then paused. But I'll give you all one piece of advice. Free of charge. Stop sacrificing the people you love on the altar of what you think you're protecting. Because in the end, you won't have anything left worth protecting. She walked toward the door. If you leave now, Sebastian called out, his voice breaking. I'm coming with you. I'll walk away from all of it. The company, the money, the name, everything. Just say the word, Emma. Just say you want me, and I'll burn it all down. Emma stopped, her hand on the door handle, tears streaming down her face. She thought about the boy who'd tutored her in mathematics, the teenager who'd promised to change the world with her, the baby they'd made and lost without ever knowing it existed. She thought about 15 years of silence and suffering, about all the ways love could be weaponized, about all the scars they both carried. And she realized something that made her soul ache. Sometimes love wasn't enough. Sometimes it was just another thing that got destroyed. Don't burn your world down for me, Sebastian, she whispered without turning around. I'm not worth the ashes. She opened the door and walked out into the night. Behind her, she heard Sebastian's anguished cry, heard something crash, heard Catherine's sharp voice trying to restore order. But Emma kept walking. She'd made her sacrifice, given up her second chance. Let him go. Because that's what you did when you loved someone. You protected them, even from yourself, even when it destroyed you. The city lights blurred through her tears as Emma disappeared into the darkness, carrying the ghost of his love and the memory of a baby that never drew breath, and the weight of a choice that would haunt her forever. Behind her, in the Monroe estate, Sebastian Monroe fell to his knees among the torn pieces of Catherine's check, and finally understood that some things, once broken, can never be made whole. 6 months later, Emma sat in a small cafe in Portland, 3,000 miles from everything she'd left behind. Rain drummed against the windows, the Pacific Northwest sky gray and heavy. She stirred her coffee absently, watching water streak down the glass. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She'd changed her number twice since leaving, but somehow they always found her. She almost didn't answer. Then something made her press accept. Emma Hartwell? A lawyer's voice. Professional. Detached. This is Robert Chen from Morrison & Associates. I'm calling regarding the estate of Catherine Monroe. Emma's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. Catherine is dead? She passed 3 weeks ago. Heart attack. Miss Hartwell, you're listed as a beneficiary in her will. If you could come to our offices in New York, I'm not coming back. Miss Hartwell, the bequest is substantial. $2 million. And a letter. Mrs. Monroe insisted the letter be delivered only to you in person. Emma's hand trembled. Why would she leave me anything? I'm not privy to the contents of her letter. But she was very specific about her wishes. The funds are held in escrow until you claim them. Emma closed her eyes. Even in death, Catherine Monroe was pulling strings, creating one last manipulation. One last game. I'll think about it, she said, and hung up. But 3 days later, she was on a plane. The law office was all mahogany and leather, old money trying to pretend it wasn't bleeding out in the modern world. Robert Chen handed her an envelope, cream-colored, expensive. Catherine's handwriting on the front. Emma waited until she was alone in a hotel room to open it. Emma, if you're reading this, I'm dead. Good. I was tired. I won't apologize for the things I did. I protected my son the only way I knew how. But I will tell you something I never told anyone else. I was you once, 50 years ago, in love with a boy from the wrong world. My parents destroyed it, destroyed him, destroyed me. And I spent the rest of my life becoming exactly what they wanted. Exactly what destroyed me. I saw myself in you that night at the cafe. The same fire, the same refusal to be bought. And I hated you for it. Because you had the courage I never did. The money isn't an apology. It's a message. Take it. Build something. Live the life I never had the strength to live. And maybe, just maybe, break the cycle I couldn't break. There's something else you should know. Sebastian filed for divorce from Victoria 2 days after you left. He liquidated half his assets, stepped down from the Monroe Group, and disappeared. My lawyers haven't been able to locate him for 4 months. If you're looking for him, you're not alone. I hope you find each other. I hope you find happiness. I hope you're braver than I was. Catherine Emma's hands shook as she set down the letter. Sebastian was gone, had walked away from everything, just like he'd promised. She pulled out her laptop and searched his name. The articles appeared like ghosts. Monroe, heir vanishes after shocking divorce. Sebastian Monroe steps down amid family scandal. Where is Sebastian Monroe? She dug deeper. Found a small mention in a Portland community newsletter from 2 months ago. A new nonprofit opening. An education fund for underprivileged students. Anonymous donor. Location, Maple Street. Maple Street. The same street as their library. Emma's heart stopped. The next morning, she found herself standing in front of a converted warehouse. A sign read, Second Chances Education Fund. Through the window, she could see students at computers, volunteers helping with homework, walls covered in dreams, and in the back office, barely visible through the glass, a figure with dark hair bent over paperwork. Emma's hand reached for the door, stopped, reached again. The bell chimed as she entered. Several volunteers looked up, smiling. A young girl approached. Can I help you? I'm looking for the director, Mr. Monroe. He's in his office. I can get him if Emma... She turned. Sebastian stood in the doorway of his office, and for a moment, neither of them could breathe. He'd lost weight. His hair was longer, touched with more gray. He wore jeans and a plain shirt, no designer labels, no armor. His eyes, those impossible green eyes, held the same devastation and hope she felt. You found me, he said quietly. Your mother gave me a map. She told me she would. In her final letter to me, she said if I was patient, if I built something real, you might come looking. He took a hesitant step forward. I wasn't sure I believed her. You left everything. I left nothing that mattered. Sebastian's voice cracked. Emma, I know I have no right to ask for anything. No right to hope. But these past 6 months, I've been trying to become someone you could be proud of. Someone who doesn't hide. Who doesn't sacrifice love for duty. Who fights for what matters. Sebastian, I named the fund after you. Second chances. Because that's what you gave me, even when you left. A chance to be better. To choose differently. To finally choose right. He pulled something from his pocket. A small velvet box. I've been carrying this for 15 years. I bought it with my first paycheck from my first real job, before my father found out about us, before everything fell apart. He opened the box. Inside was a simple silver ring with a small emerald. Not expensive, not flashy, real. I was going to propose to you the day he made me leave. I had this whole plan, behind the library, at sunset. Sebastian's eyes glistened. I was 17 and stupid, and I thought love could conquer anything. And then I learned that sometimes love has to retreat, has to regroup, has to grow up. Emma couldn't speak, couldn't move. I'm not asking you to marry me, Sebastian continued. I'm not asking you to forgive me or forget what happened or pretend we can just pick up where we left off. I'm asking if I can take you to coffee, if we can talk, if maybe someday we could try to build something new from all these broken pieces. Your mother left me $2 million, Emma whispered. She left me 3, with instructions to match whatever you put into this fund. She orchestrated this whole thing from beyond the grave. Sebastian's laugh was bitter and fond. Even dying, she was playing chess. But this time, I think she was trying to play matchmaker instead of executioner. She wrote that she saw herself in me. She saw what she could have been, if she'd been brave enough to choose love. Sebastian set the ring box on a nearby table, not pushing, just offering. I know I hurt you. I know I failed you. I know I can't undo 15 years or bring back what we lost. But Emma, I spent half my life running from the only thing that ever made me feel alive. And I'm done running. Emma looked at him. Really looked. At the man who'd been a boy who'd been a dream. At the scars they both carried. At the wreckage between them. At the impossible, fragile hope in his eyes. I have one condition, she said finally. Anything. We start over. Completely over. No history, no ghosts. No debts or obligations or guilt. We're just 2 people meeting for the first time. Sebastian's face transformed. Hi, he said, extending his hand with a trembling smile. I'm Sebastian. I run a nonprofit that helps kids who fell through the cracks. I drink too much coffee. I can't cook to save my life. And I've been in love with a ghost for 15 years. What's your name? Emma felt something crack open in her chest. Something that had been frozen for so long, she'd forgotten it could thaw. She took his hand. I'm Emma. I work 3 jobs, I believe in second chances, and I lost a part of myself I didn't know existed. I'm trying to find out who I am now. That's a beautiful name. Emma. Sebastian's grip tightened. Can I buy you coffee? There's a place down the street. Nothing fancy, just real. Real sounds perfect. They walked out of the warehouse together, their hands still clasped, neither quite willing to let go. The Portland rain had stopped, leaving the street washed clean, the air tasting like new beginnings. Behind them, the emerald ring sat on the table, waiting, patient, a promise for another day. Sebastian, Emma said as they reached the cafe. Yeah? I'm terrified. Me too. He squeezed her hand. But I think that means we're finally doing it right. They ordered coffee and sat by the window. And for the first time in 15 years, they just talked. No games, no manipulation, no families pulling strings. Just 2 people, scarred and surviving, trying to figure out if broken things could heal. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. It wasn't perfect. It was messy and complicated and fraught with the weight of everything they'd endured. But it was real. And sometimes, Emma thought as Sebastian laughed at something she said, his eyes bright with genuine joy, sometimes real was enough. 6 months later, they opened a second location of the fund. A year after that, a third. They moved slowly, carefully, learning each other again, building trust from ashes. On the 2nd anniversary of their reunion, Sebastian took Emma back to the library on Maple Street, to the same spot where they'd first kissed, where it had all begun and ended and begun again. I still have the ring, he said. I know. I see you look at it sometimes. I'm not asking. Not yet. Not until you're ready. Not until we both are. He cupped her face gently. But Emma Hartwell, someday, when we've healed enough to be whole, I'm going to ask you properly. And I'm going to hope like hell you say yes. Emma smiled, tears streaming down her face. Ask me now. What? We've wasted enough time waiting for perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. But this, she placed her hand over his heart. This is real. This is now. This is us. So ask me now, Sebastian Monroe, before the universe finds another way to tear us apart. Sebastian dropped to one knee right there on the library steps, pulling the emerald ring from his pocket, his hands shaking so badly he almost dropped it. "Emma Hartwell, will you marry me? Will you build a life with me? Will you trust me with your heart one more time?" "Yes," she breathed. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." He slid the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly, like it had been waiting 15 years for this exact moment. They kissed on those library steps as the sun set behind them, painting the sky in shades of hope. And for the first time since they were teenagers with impossible dreams, they both believed in happy endings. Not because the world had become kind, not because their scars had disappeared, but because they'd learned that love wasn't about perfection, or protection, or sacrifice. It was about choice. Every single day, choosing to stay, choosing to fight, choosing to believe that broken things, given enough time and care and courage, could become beautiful again. 3 years later, Emma Monroe stood in the hospital, holding their newborn daughter. Sebastian sat beside her, his eyes wet, his hand gentle on the baby's head. "What should we name her?" he whispered. Emma looked at their daughter, at the life they'd created from so much death, and smiled. "Catherine," she said, "for second chances, for the woman who finally chose love over control, even if it took her whole life to figure out how." Sebastian kissed Emma's temple. Perfect. And as the Portland rain drummed against the hospital windows, the Monroe family, small and scarred and real, began their story again. This time, with no secrets. No games, no ghosts, just love, messy and complicated and absolutely worth every broken piece it took to get there. The end.